Okay, we're going to be continuing with 1 Nephi chapter 4 tonight.
And it came to pass that I spake unto my brethren, saying, Let us go up again unto Jerusalem, and let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. For behold, he is mightier than all the earth. Then why not mightier than Laban and his 50? Yea, or even than his tens of thousands? Therefore let us go up, let us be strong like unto Moses. For he truly spake unto the waters of the Red Sea, and they divided hither and thither. And our fathers came through out of captivity on dry ground, and the armies of Pharaoh did follow, and were drowned in the waters of the Red Sea. Now behold, ye know that this is true, and ye also know that an angel hath spoken unto you. Wherefore can ye doubt? Let us go up. The Lord is able to deliver us even as our fathers, and to destroy Laban even as the Egyptians. Now when I had spoken these words, they were yet wroth, and did still continue to murmur. Nevertheless they did follow me up until we came without the walls of Jerusalem.
Nephi, right, is the one doing the talking. Right, they still didn't really want to do this, even though, as he said, an angel came and spoke to you. So, I mean, what more can you ask for than that? But, you know, he needs to convince them because they need to go together and do whatever it is that God has in store. Because he doesn't know what's going to happen yet. I mean, for all he knows, they're going to have to fight or something. You know, he didn't know how it was going to work, but they just had to go on faith because the angel said, the Lord will deliver Laban into your hands. You put yourself in God's hands, and he comes through, even at times when we may not see any way out. We may not see how it's going to work out, and that's really what was happening here. Nephi had no idea how this was going to happen. He didn't know how they were going to get these places away from Laban, but yet he knew they were going to be successful in some way, right? And that's the kind of confidence I think he wants us to have, that we don't have to necessarily know how it's all going to work out. We don't have to know all the details ahead of time. But if God is in control, then why should we worry?
And it was by night, and I caused that they should hide themselves without the walls. And after they had hid themselves, I, Nephi, crept into the city, and went forth towards the house of Laban. And I was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. Nevertheless I went forth, and as I came near unto the house of Laban, I beheld a man, and he had fallen to the earth before me, for he was drunken with wine. And when I came to him, I found that it was Laban.
It says now it's nighttime, so you can kind of picture the scene. They kind of slip into the city. They're going along, and Nephi tells his brothers, you know, this is all of us kind of making a big show of a lot of us walking around here. You just hang out here. I'm going to go and check things out and see where we stand. Nephi has, as it says here, he had no idea really where he was headed, what was going to happen. He's just going, knowing that somehow God's going to make a way, because the angel said, go in one more time and God will deliver Laban into your hands. So he had that confidence of knowing it was going to happen without knowing what was going to happen. So that's just what it says here. He just went and is just waiting and walking and making himself available for God to move and to make a way for this to be accomplished. Okay, so it says as he went, he was headed towards the house of Laban, because that's where the plates were. So that was the objective here, was to get the plates. He headed for the house of Laban, and as he was on his way there, he sees a man kind of laying in the street, if you will, and he's basically dead drunk. And it turns out it's Laban himself is there, drunk, laying in the street. Okay, so now you can see that it says that God was going to deliver Laban into his hands, and well, here he is. All right, what were the odds, if you will, that he was going to come right at that time, and Laban would decide that was the night to go out and get that drunk that he couldn't even make his way home. So he's there laying in the streets. So here God has orchestrated this and brought this together.
And I beheld his sword, and I drew it forth from the sheath thereof, and the hilt thereof was of pure gold, and the workmanship thereof was exceeding fine. And I saw that the blade thereof was of the most precious steel. And it came to pass that I was constrained by the Spirit that I should kill Laban. But I said in my heart, never at any time have I shed the blood of man. And I shrunk and would that I might not slay him. And the Spirit said unto me again, behold, the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Yea, and I also knew that he had sought to take away mine own life. Yea, and he would not hearken unto the commandments of the Lord. And he also had taken away our property.
Because it's hard for us to put ourselves in this place and to really experience what Nephi did. Right? That he says, he comes upon Laban, and now it says the Spirit is telling him you have to kill him. Right? Now, at first you read that, well, how can anybody who is a servant of God it's almost like a cold-blooded murder kind of thing. How could he just kill him, all right? But yet, it says the Spirit is telling him to kill him. So now he's stuck. He's like, I've never done anything like that. I can't do that. So that's what he's thinking. And now it says, as you see, he's having almost like an argument with Spirit of God here. The Spirit says that the Lord has delivered him into your hands, right? And that this is the purpose. So now he's thinking, well, I mean, he did try to kill me, right? And he tried to kill my brothers. He did take away all of our stuff, and so he's now starting to think, well, maybe there is a reason for this, all right? But still, it's hard. I mean, it would be hard for any of us in that position. And believe me, I'm not saying if we should go around looking for God to tell us to kill people, all right? But so this was a hard thing, and he's like, I don't think I can do this.
And it came to pass that the Spirit said unto me again, Slay him, for the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Behold, the Lord slayeth the wicked to bring forth his righteous purposes. It is better that one man should perish than that a nation should dwindle and perish in unbelief. And now when I, Nephi, had heard these words, I remembered the words of the Lord which he spake unto me in the wilderness, saying that, Inasmuch as thy seed shall keep my commandments, they shall prosper in the land of promise.
Right? So once again, the Spirit says, kill him. Right? That's why the Lord has delivered him into your hands. And now he's going a step further, saying, see, God can do whatever he wants. See, you and me, I mean, we're not, permitted to go around deciding to kill people, right? But God can do whatever he wants. So it says that God will slay the righteous, slay the wicked for the purpose of bringing forth his righteous purposes, right? So this was somebody who was standing in the way of something that God wanted to have done. So if he feels that somebody needs to be removed in order to accomplish something, then that's what happens. And so, when God says to do something, you do what God says to do. And so that's really where Nephi was at this point. All right, and it says it's better that one man should perish than that a nation should dwindle in unbelief, which is what would happen if this new nation didn't have all the information on these records. Right? So that was the point, is that this new nation they were going to start needed the Word of God with them in order to be successful. And so that whole nation would dwindle in unbelief because all the records of the prophets and everything would be unavailable to them if they didn't have these plates with them. So Laban was preventing it, so that's why now he's saying it's better that one man should perish than that a nation should dwindle in unbelief.
Yea, and I also thought that they could not keep the commandments of the Lord according to the law of Moses, save they should have the law. And I also knew that the law was engraven upon the plates of brass. And again I knew that the Lord hath delivered Laban into my hands for this cause, that I might obtain the records according to his commandments. Therefore I did obey the voice of the Spirit, and took Laban by the hair of the head, and I smote off his head with his own sword.
Again, you see the verses leading up to this, right? It says, in 15, it says, I also thought they could not keep the commandments of the Lord according to the law of Moses if they didn't have the law of Moses, right? So they were, again, starting a new nation. They wanted to live by the law of Moses and by the law of God. Well, how can we teach anybody the law if we don't have the law, if we don't have the words to teach from, right? And so understanding that they needed this in order to be successful in their new nation, and that Laban was preventing it, God said he would deliver Laban into his hands, and now did so. So now to not follow through and do what God says, well, now you're going against what God has orchestrated, right? And there's times in our life, and again, not saying that any of us would be called upon to kill anybody, but there's times in our life when we might pray for a certain thing, a certain outcome, and God may well orchestrate that in a certain way, but it may include us doing things that we may not want to and not have wanted to do, right? I'm just talking in generalities at this point. But at that point, to then say to God, well, no, I don't really want to do that. Well, you prayed for this to happen, and now I'm making a way for it to happen. So, what's up? I don't want to do it now, right? So there's times that we may need to do things that are maybe unpleasant or things that we don't necessarily want to do, but it's to accomplish God's purpose, and so then we follow through and do what it is that the Lord needs for us to do.
And after I had smitten off his head with his own sword, I took the garments of Laban, and put them upon mine own body, yea, even every whit, and I did gird on his armor about my loins. And after I had done this, I went forth unto the treasury of Laban. And as I went forth towards the treasury of Laban, behold, I saw the servant of Laban, who had the keys of the treasury. And I commanded him in the voice of Laban that he should go with me into the treasury. And he supposed me to be his master Laban, for he beheld the garments, and also the sword girded about my loins.
So Nephi dresses himself in Laban's clothes, which, it sounds like it included armor and whatever else. So, it would have had to be, I'm thinking, something to conceal his face also. Otherwise, it'd be kind of obvious that it wasn't him. But he somehow, appeared to be Laban based on the way he was dressed. He was carrying now the sword of Laban. and he tried to disguise his voice to talk like Laban did. So he went to the servant and said, hey, let's go to the treasury here, and that's where the plates were kept.
We didn't have glasses back then.
Probably not. That's true. That's true. And it was nighttime, right? It was nighttime. I'm sure maybe there were no street lights or anything. So yeah, you could probably get away with it in the dark. He fools the servant of Laban into thinking that that's who he is. He's dressed like him. He's speaking like him. He's got the sword. And so now he tells him, "Come on, let's go to the treasury. I got something that I got to get from there."
And he spake unto me concerning the elders of the Jews, he knowing that his master Laban had been out by night among them. And I spake unto him as if it had been Laban. And I also spake unto him that I should carry the engravings which were upon the plates of brass to my elder brethren who were without the walls.
He says, take me to the treasury. Now he says, I'm going to take these brass plates. Yeah, I can almost picture it doing almost like randomly. I think I'm going to take these brass plates out tonight. And my elder brothers are outside the walls of the city. I'm going to take it to them, right? And actually, it's going to say here in a minute that the servant, I guess, mistook what he even meant by his elder brothers, right? Because if we were in church, right? In church, when you look at the brothers that sit up front, they're the elder brothers, right? So that's what the servant took it as. He was going to take it to the brothers of the church, like maybe the ministers of whatever church was going on there. Yeah, because otherwise, to me, it would almost be like a little slip-up, saying you're going to take it to my older brothers, or Laban may not have had older brothers, and why would he want to take them to his relatives? But it says the servant mistook that to mean the brothers of the church.
And I also bade him that he should follow me. And he, supposing that I spake of the brethren of the church, and that I was truly that Laban whom I had slain, wherefore he did follow me. And he spake unto me many times concerning the elders of the Jews, as I went forth unto my brethren who were without the walls.
It was impressive that Nephi is carrying on a conversation with him, talking about the elders of the church, and speaking as if he was Laban. Really, the wise strategy here would be to say as little as possible, right? Because the more you talk, the more likely you're going to give yourself away, that you're going to say something that the servant's going to say, what? And Laban wouldn't say that. But he carried this off really well, and he carries on a conversation, speaking in Laban's voice, speaking about topics that Laban would know about. So they're walking and they're headed out for the outskirts of the city, which is where the other brothers were actually hiding. The city of Jerusalem, and perhaps other cities as well, they did have walls around them, and they had openings in the walls where you could get in and out, but they had walls all around the city. It helped, to especially in times of war, to be able to protect the city, because people couldn't get over the wall, so you could only go through the openings, and so they could put guards at the openings, and then they could protect the city that way. So in this case, the brothers were staying outside the walls of the city, and so they were going to go out and meet them outside the walls of the city.
And it came to pass that when Laman saw me, he was exceedingly frightened, and also Lemuel and Sam, and they fled from before my presence, for they supposed it was Laban, and that he had slain me, and had sought to take away their lives also. And it came to pass that I called after them, and they did hear me, wherefore they did cease to flee from my presence. And it came to pass that when the servant of Laban beheld my brethren, he began to tremble, and was about to flee from before me, and return to the city of Jerusalem.
Remembering that Nephi is disguised as Laban, to the point where he fools his servant. So needless to say, when the brothers saw him, first thing they thought was, we're in trouble, right? Because here comes Laban with his servant, and no Nephi, so Nephi's probably been killed, and now it's coming after us. So they were getting ready to, in their great bravery, they were getting ready to run like crazy, right? They were going to take off and say, oh well, Nephi's dead, let's run, right? And so they were going to take off. And so Nephi, seeing that, then calls out to them in his own voice, and no, it's me, it's okay, all right? But of course, once he did that, well, now the servant who all along thinks he's with Laban is like, no, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble here. This guy's not Laban. These guys are not the elders of the church. All right, but now he's ready to run back into the city.
And now I, Nephi, being a man large in stature, and also having received much strength of the Lord, therefore I did seize upon the servant of Laban, and held him, that he should not flee. And it came to pass that I spake with him, that if he would hearken unto my words, as the Lord liveth, and as I live, even so, that if he would hearken unto our words, we would spare his life. And I spake unto him, even with an oath, that he need not fear, that he should be a free man like unto us, if he would go down in the wilderness with us.
Nephi was a big guy, right? And so we don't know how big, but clearly bigger than any of the other ones, because he was able to grab the servant and hang on to him and restrain him from running away. But now, he's not looking to hurt anybody else. He talks to him. He says, listen, if you come with us, we'll treat you like a free man, right? You're not going to be our servant or our slave. You'll be just like another member of the family. You just come with us, and you'll be part of our new nation. And so don't worry, we're not gonna hurt you, right? So we just need you to come with us. Okay. Now the servant though, right? I mean, let me just ask you. I mean, why should he believe him? Why should he believe what Nephi's saying? He doesn't know him. He's a stranger, for that matter. He's a killer. He just killed Laban. He's gonna make him believe he's Laban. Why should I believe this? Like there's this business of the oath here. All right, it says he made an oath to him, or which of course would be like a special kind of a promise. And from what I've read, it says that if you're going to make an oath of something where you really want the person to believe this oath, it had to include that it was on the life of something. Okay, so as it says here, that it says as I live, I'm making this oath. All right, that was like one of the most powerful oaths you could make, like on your own life. And the only oath that would carry more weight than that is if you put it like on the Lord's life. And so here he put both. He says, as the Lord liveth and as I live, that I promise you that you'll be okay if you come with us, that you'll be a free man, we're not going to hurt you, and we're going to let you be one of us. So he was making kind of a very solemn, powerful kind of a promise here, and so it was enough to get the guy's attention, I think, to where he would have believed what he was being told. There was this big guy holding him down. He's got the sword, right? Are you going to come with us or not, right? Yeah, because for that matter, if he said, well, no, I'm not going to come, then he might have killed him. So, so really given that choice, yeah, I think I'll come with you.
And I also spake unto him, saying, surely the Lord hath commanded us to do this thing, and shall we not be diligent in keeping the commandments of the Lord? Therefore, if thou wilt go down into the wilderness to my father, thou shalt have place with us. And it came to pass that Zoram did take courage at the words which I spake. Now Zoram was the name of the servant, and he promised that he would go down into the wilderness unto my father. And he also made an oath unto us that he would tarry with us from that time forth.
Here you see the name of the servant is Zoram, right? And, that's a name that pops in from time to time. In fact, we're going to go ahead and write his name over here. Okay, he gets to go on the big wall here, right? We'll put his name over here. Okay, he's not he's not a relative, he's not a son or anything, but he's going to be with the family going forward. So he gets to be here too. So again, this is the group that's going to be in the wilderness. All right, the Lehi, his family, and Zoram. Okay, so the servant of Laban, Zoram, agrees to go with them. And as you see, it says that he made an oath of his own. Right, it says it at the end there of 35. It says he also made an oath unto us that he would tarry with us from that time forth. Right? And that was kind of important too, because they really wanted him to come with them, to go with the idea that, well, he's going to try to escape, or he's going to try to go back, would be an unnecessary worry, right? They really didn't want to have to be burdened with that worry this guy's going to run back and then tell people and so forth. So he made his own oath, his own promise that, okay, I'll stay with you, I'll go with you, and I'll be part of your group. So they made an oath to each other, and then from there they were able to go forward.
Now we were desirous that he should tarry with us for this cause, that the Jews might not know concerning our flight into the wilderness, lest they should pursue us and destroy us. And it came to pass that when Zoram had made an oath unto us, our fears did cease concerning him. And it came to pass that we took the plates of brass and the servant of Laban, and departed into the wilderness, and journeyed unto the tent of our father.
So as you see there, the reason is given why they needed him to come with them, and for them to leave him behind. Well, now there's a witness of what's happened. So right, he could direct people to that this is the people who were involved. This is who killed Laban. This is who took the plates, and then they'd be chasing after them. I mean, now nobody really, they're of course going to find the body, and the plates are gone, but nobody knows who was involved. Maybe they'll think Zoram was involved, but they don't know where he went. Okay, what we had here is we were keeping track of the different writings that there were. Okay, if you remember, we were saying that Lehi was writing a book, and Nephi was writing a book, right? There was two sets of plates that they were each writing on, and now we're going to add to that the brass plates. Okay, so they're now carrying with them the brass plates, and as the story progresses, I'll let you know what these plates are called. But for now, the brass plates joins what they're bringing with them, right? Because they are carrying now the record of the Jews, the prophecies, the genealogy, and so forth with them. And that's all contained on the breastplate.